Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. I want to talk today about something that I personally struggle with a whole lot. And that I hope that by sharing this struggle with you, it'll resonate. And maybe if you're struggling with something similar, you'll feel better about it. I think so often, one of the things I've realized, we had a video that went kind of viral on YouTube a while back called How Young YouTube Millionaires Lie to You. And one of the recurring themes in the comment section of that video, and this took me by surprise. I didn't expect that this was going to be the case. But one of the recurring comments was, "Oh, this makes me feel so much better." Because I felt depressed. I was getting getting down on myself and feeling like I'm a failure and that I'm not living up to my potential because I'm looking over at these young YouTubers who are making millions at 23 years old, and there's all these kids out there who, kids being people who are like in the 20s, even 30s and 40s, who are like looking at this and thinking, I'm falling behind, and they're getting depressed and they're getting down on themselves, and this is like demotivating. And so I was really surprised by that, because like my default when I look at people who are further ahead of me is not to get demotivated. It's actually to get a little bit inspired and get competitive and say, they can do it, I can do it. But I came to realize that there's a huge segment of the world that does not operate that way. They don't play the game in that same way. And that's not to say it's right or wrong. I do think that if you're letting, negative emotions overwhelm you when you think about other people and how they're living their life, I think that is probably not a healthy thing, and that you need to do something about that. But one of the things I've come to realize, though, is I need to be really conscious and cognizant of how I present myself out there in the world, because there are people who are watching, specifically young people who are impressionable and might get the wrong impression of what my life is like or how easy it is. Let's say that, because on the one hand is like a guru, we'll say, or like a financial expert, a real estate investor, or like a business person that people kind of look up to and think like, he's got his shit together, he's figured it out. Like, the truth is, how I feel and how I go through my personal day is very different than the life that you see in social media. And it's not to say that it's a lie. It's not to say that one is right and the other is wrong, or that I'm wearing a mask. It's just social media is about presenting a specific side of yourself in a specific way. And so it's amplifying aspects of your personality. And that's not, I don't think, misleading in any way. It's like when you go to a party, if you're introverted, you figure out you have to turn on the switch and you have to go into your extroverted mode so that you can be, your best self and engage with people. It's just not who you are all the time, but it's a side of your personality, right? And that's how it is on social media. So if you're listening to this podcast, you're watching on YouTube or seeing on Instagram or Twitter, like I'm presenting a side of myself that, I'm not going to show you the worst parts of myself when I'm like eating Cheetos on the couch and like slobbing out, because that's not helpful typically. However, one of the things I do struggle with, and, to the topic of this podcast, is that to a lot of you, I might seem like the hyper-focused, super disciplined, successful entrepreneur guy. And the truth is that I still struggle every single day with all of these things, with being focused, with being disciplined, with maintaining motivation, with doing the things that need to get done. And on those days, like some days are a bigger struggle than others. Some days I feel great, right? It's not a black and white typically. It's always a spectrum to be managed. Like some days it's like, how motivated, how disciplined do I feel? How focused do I feel? Or how distracted? And every now and then I'll have those days where I just feel incredibly distracted, undisciplined, unmotivated, and I can't get moving towards my highest and best self. And on those days, they're particularly hard in recent times as I've been putting out more content and sharing my journey with you guys, because part of it makes me feel a little bit like an imposter. Like, oh, if you're going to tell people, trying to help people become more disciplined, more focused, then who are you if you still struggle with these things and you can't even help yourself on these days, right? And so when I fail on those days to live up to my potential, like it hits especially hard because I feel like an imposter. And I'm sharing this with you right now because I think one of the things that might surprise you to learn is that a lot of the content that I create, whether it's this podcast, again, it's YouTube, it's Instagram, like when I'm putting out content, a lot of it is more for me than it is for you. Like, it's more for me to work through what I think on a topic. It's for me to remember a lesson that's served me well and to go deeper on it so it can continue serving me even better into the future. And as a consequence, if it's good content, then hopefully it serves you as well. But I just want to share this, that none of us have it figured out. And if you're looking at my life from the outside and thinking like, oh, your life sucks because look at, he's got it all here and he's so focused and all this stuff. Like, no, I'm just human, just like you. And that's the takeaway for all of the influencers and gurus out there that you see. Like, a lot of them like to flex and like show you the mansions and the travel with the private jets and the Lamborghinis. And I don't do any of that stuff because I think it's sending the wrong message. It's trying at that point to say like, this is my life, when in reality it's not. And I think it just does more damage than it does good to people's psyche, to feeling like you can't measure up. And so I don't think those are helpful things to put out into the world, nor do I think those are even things to aspire to necessarily. But I wanted to share this because yesterday I had one of those days where I felt like I wasn't living up to my potential and it was getting me kind of down, and I was reflecting on this. And on those days when that happens, all you can do is say, you know what, tomorrow's another day. I'm going to show up and do my best and get back on track, and here we are. So I hope this brought you a little bit of value. If it did, awesome. Let me know. Go do me a favor. Just drop a review for the podcast. Like, that would be super helpful. If you go over to Spotify or iTunes, that just helps spread the word. And we have a mission here to help as many distracted entrepreneurs as possible to get how to learn how to get out of their own way, or at least to fight the good fight better. So I appreciate you guys taking some time to be with me here today. I'm looking forward to seeing you back here tomorrow. But until then, stay hyper-focused, my friend.